Hello everyone, Don here with the next update on the Corsair project. As I mentioned last week, or the last video I did, I had pulled the cowlings and checked it all over and found a small oil leak, and then I mentioned I wanted to get the exhaust manifold and mufflers all wrapped in some kind of header wrap. So that's what I'm working on here now. So last week I wasn't able to come down here and make a video. Had other pressing matters at home to deal with. My car ended up throwing a check engine light a week or so ago. Turned out to be a rear O2 sensor reading lean all the time, which tells me that there was more than likely an exhaust leak. And I had been smelling a little bit of exhaust here and there. So long story short, turned out to be the downpipe from the exhaust manifold to the catalytic converter. I had to replace that with an aftermarket piece from Walker. And the top two bolts that holds the manifold in, one of them had kind of loosened up and it had an exhaust leak clear up just after the front oxygen sensor, which is a wideband. So I was able to tighten that up and fix it, but between that and the broken wheel lug on that front wheel, I had to pull the brake system off and knock out the lug, install a new lug, and put a lug nut on it. So I spent a couple hours on that on Saturday. And then I had a lot of lawn work to tend to, so I had to get the push mower out and work on that, and weed whacker. I had to replace the primer bulb and just a bunch of little stuff. I had to get the chainsaw out and get that all running. But I spent the whole day Saturday last weekend working on this car and getting all the lawn gear running. And then Sunday I was expecting to come down here, but it was hot, humid, and just miserable. So I ended up doing yard work all day long. And then I had burned up some old wood from digging out that tree stump roots out of in front of the shed where I had this airplane. So I spent the whole day Sunday cleaning up around the house, pulling out some scrap metal and keeping what I wanted and throwing that all out. So last weekend was a total wash. And then Monday, I could have come down Monday, but I was just exhausted from the whole weekend thing, and it was miserable. So I didn't bother. So I came down yesterday. Saturday was one of them days where it was still hot and muggy this past weekend, so I wasn't able to, I didn't even go outside. I just stayed in the house all damn day in the air conditioning. It was terrible, and I was just tired. I just didn't feel up to it. So I came down yesterday, Sunday, and it was great. Got up yesterday morning, it was like 65 degrees. Me and the wife went and did our shopping, came home, so I loaded up the car with tools and came down here, and I pulled the cowling and pulled the muffler off. So that's what you see here. Here's the muffler, and this is the DEI titanium wrap, and guys are always saying, oh, you got to soak this stuff in water. Well, the older stuff, yes. This stuff, no. But it's just, it's kind of like a fiberglass, but they got some kind of material in it that gives you a much higher temperature. So these pipes, like I say, these come out. So I wrapped all three pieces independent of each other. And then what I ended up doing, I can't take credit for it, but anytime you cut this type of material, even the fiberglass on this plane, the fibers just want to pull apart real easily. And so you can't burn it or anything. It's pretty much flame resistant. I did burn a piece of the cord on this, and it just kind of melted back, but it never burned. As soon as you take the flame away, it just glow cherry red and dry up. It was more like a plastic than anything, but it won't burn. So what the guy showed me is he just took some super glue and run a bead of super glue across there, just wet it, and then the thing expands out and leaves you about 3/8 of an inch wide thing after it cures, and then you just cut it with a pair of scissors, and it doesn't unfray whatsoever. So that was a guy on YouTube that I found, so it's not my credit, but if you're ever going to cut any of this stuff, even the fiberglass stuff, super glue it and then cut it, and it will never unfray. Worked perfect. So today I'm down here. I got the oil pan off because I wanted to find that leak, and what it looks like might have happened. Let me grab a guy walking through the hangar here. Let me grab my little flashlight, and I'll show you what I was talking about being wet. Those two lugs right there, that's the bottom of the oil pump. One is probably a pressure regulator, and the other one is possibly a bypass. But on this one here, you can clearly see there's some gray RTV stuck on there. So when you put the pan in here, the problem is the pan scrapes the mount on this side and this side, and the pan has to tuck up into this little nook here on that lug right here. The pan's got to tuck in there, so when I broke it loose, I had to slide it forward to get it past this lug, and then you got to drag it down past these, and that's where it scrapes on this pan right here on both sides. And then trying to break this thing loose, I think I bent that flange down a little bit right here from the screwdriver, so I got to make sure that's straight. But right here I can see a little piece of silicone, get the glare off of it, that pulled off the block, and that's probably where it rubbed on that lug right there. So I'm hoping that that's the leak. So what I got to do now is I'm going to go in here and scrape all this gasket material off, and I do have a broken bolt right there, so I'm going to try and get that out too. I stopped at Harbor Freight and bought a screw extractor, bolt extractor kit that has a little left hand twist drill bit, so hopefully we'll center punch that and hit that, and that may just screw it right out. It's a tiny little like 4mm screw, but I'm going to clean that off, clean this off, and then get this back together. There's a seal here I got to be mindful of to not lose. What that does I'm not sure, but it goes in the block there. It's not the oil pickup because that's right here, a piece of lint. But the oil's nice and clean looking. It's a little discolored, but it's not black by any means at all. I had to disconnect the tube here for the dipstick, so I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up, wash this all down, scrape that all off, put a fresh coat of sealant on there, and trying to get that back in without disturbing the seal. So and then the exhaust is real easy. I mean, you got 3 bolts per side, and then just unplug the oxygen sensor. I had that thing off in 5 minutes. It took me like 2 hours to wrap it yesterday. So I'm going to get this all back together. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go out and do any run up or taxi tests because I'm going to need to let this stuff dry for a good day before I try to heat it up. This engine is a sealed oil system, so when it's running it pulls a vacuum, and if I run it, it may suck some gasket material in somewhere and cause another leak. So I won't be running it today. Tomorrow I have a eye exam appointment, 10 in the morning, so if it's nice out and everything goes well, maybe I'll come down tomorrow and try to do some another taxi run. I want to try and get this out on the runway and see if I can't get the tail up on it. That's the next step for this thing, is get the tail off the ground, see what kind of speed it takes to do that. So alright, I'm going to go ahead and stop it right here, and once I get this all back together, I'll finish this video out. I'll leave the cowling off so you can see it, and then hopefully I get that done today. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. Alright everybody, I'm back. It's about 2 hours later, and I got it all back together. What a chore. What a chore. Like I mentioned before, trying to get past these things. If it's leaks again, I'm going to have to take that pan off, take it home, and clearance it around that thing, make it easier to put in. I still had to really kick on it to get that thing in place. Hopefully the gasket sealer is going to do its job. And there you can see the exhaust wrap all finished. On the pipes, the manifolds into the muffler. Oop, damn it, keep hitting that zoom button there with my finger. But the sides, there's not much I could do about the sides. My biggest concern was this mount up here with the heat on this and then the heat on the oil pan. That should help hold the heat in. So everything's still damp. I sprayed it all down. This stuff I use, this cleaner, is it's not typical. It's not brake cleaner. It was a degreaser spray, but it was a petroleum-based product, so petroleum distillates. So it's a real slow drying stuff. I ran all the way down the belly when I washed it, so I might have to get back here with some cleaner later on. So now I'm going to throw this bottom cowling back on, button it up, and I'll come back out maybe tomorrow, maybe not. If I do, I'll make a video if I can. It'd be nice if I can get someone to help out with the recording instead of just putting it on a tripod. The oil's back in it. The gearbox drain lines hooked up, tightened down, dipstick tubes put back in, torqued down, so it's all good to go. Alright, that's going to do it for this week's video. Sorry again for not being able to put one up last week, but just had to address some stuff at home. A lot of stuff to deal with. Been putting off because I've been down here every weekend, you know, a couple days each weekend working on it Saturday, Sunday, Monday, sometimes into Tuesday. So, all right, just going to throw this back in there, pin her down, tighten up the screws, and go home, folks. All right, that's going to do it for this week's update. I'll get this thing tacked together and throw it on tonight so you guys get something to see and find out what's been going on. Sorry for about the the lack of a week here I lost, but other pressing projects had to be taken care of. So, all right, as always, appreciate everyone taking the time to watch these videos. Again, feel free to leave any comments, questions, or concerns. All I should be able to do now is come back next time, fire it up, run it for a little bit, and then check for leaks. And if everything looks good, then I'll do some more taxiing. So, as always, feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns. I'll answer them as they come through. I've been getting quite a few comments, so I appreciate everybody asking questions. And we'll go from there, folks. I'll close this thing up, and I'll see you guys again, if not tomorrow, hopefully next weekend. So for now, this is Dino Don out.